I knew I was being lied to long before I had proof. Sometimes truth whispers before it shouts. My name is Ryan Langston, and I'm 36 years old. Each morning, I wake at 5, brew coffee strong enough to stand a spoon in, and head to job sites where I build things that last. My wife, Jenna Langston, had perfected the art of deception, layering small falsehoods until they formed something vast. The hotel receipt I found wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern, one that had been hidden beneath smiles and late nights at the office. My stomach knotted when I confronted her and watched truth die in her eyes. Our neighbor Elena Diaz had warned me once, the easiest person to fool is someone who trusts completely. I won't be that person anymore. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. But let me start from the beginning. I was up on a roof when Jeff signaled from below that the lumber delivery was running late. "Call it a day," I told the crew, checking my watch. 3:30. "Let's get a fresh start tomorrow." I drove home with the windows down, enjoying that bite of October air that meant winter was coming. Normally, I'd have texted Jenna to let her know I was heading back early, but something held me back. Maybe it was instinct, maybe just fatigue after balancing on trusses all day. Either way, I pulled into our driveway without warning, parked my truck, and used my key in the lock like I was just another delivery guy. The house felt different, too quiet, too still, the way buildings feel when they're holding secrets. Our living room blinds were half drawn, casting stripes of late afternoon sun across the hardwood floors I'd refinished last spring. Jenna sat on the couch, head bent toward her phone. When the door clicked shut behind me, she jerked upright, eyes wide, as if I'd broken in rather than come home. "Ryan!" Her voice pitched higher than normal. "What are you doing here?" Lumber delivery got pushed. I set my thermos on the entry table. Thought I'd call it early. Her phone buzzed, face down on the couch cushion. She flipped it over, swiped away whatever notification had appeared, then set it down again. Screen dark. Message gone. "How was your day?" I tried, shrugging off my jacket. "Fine." She stood, smoothing her skirt. "Normal, just work stuff." Her eyes darted around the room, never quite landing on me. "I should start dinner. It's not even 4 yet. I like to prep ahead." She moved toward the kitchen, stiff-shouldered. Those client files kept me busy all afternoon. I watched her go, feeling that hollow space widening between us. This was becoming our pattern. Me reaching, her retreating. 3 months of late nights at the office, 2 months of sudden work dinners that left her smelling like someone else's cologne. 6 weeks of her phone perpetually face down. I remembered when we'd sit on the back deck drinking beers until midnight, her head on my shoulder, planning the life we'd build. Now I couldn't remember the last real conversation we'd had. "I'll grab a shower," I called after her. Upstairs, our bedroom held the lingering scent of Jenna's perfume. Not the vanilla one I'd bought her for Christmas, but something sharper, more expensive. Her coat was draped over the reading chair, one arm dangling toward the floor. A slip of paper peeked from the pocket. I hesitated, then pulled it free. A hotel receipt. The Westlake Grand, 2 towns over. Dated yesterday. A Wednesday afternoon when she'd texted she was stuck in meetings all day. Room service for 2. Champagne and desserts I'd never seen her order. My hands didn't shake. My breathing stayed even. Years of working construction teaches you to stay steady when the ground shifts beneath you. I took the receipt downstairs, finding Jenna chopping vegetables with unnecessary force. She looked up, knife pausing mid-slice when she saw what I was holding. "What's this?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Her eyes narrowed. "You went through my things?" "It was falling out of your coat pocket. So you just had to read it?" She set the knife down. "Invading my privacy now?" "I'm asking about a hotel receipt, Jenna. For a place 40 minutes away." Yesterday, when you said you were working. It was for work. She crossed her arms. We had a client meeting in one of their conference rooms. With room service? Champagne for two? Oh my God! She threw up her hands. You're tracking what I order now? The client wanted to celebrate closing a deal. It's called business, Ryan. Which client? What? Which client was it? I repeated. What was the deal? You're being ridiculous. She snatched the receipt from my hand. I don't interrogate you about every nail you hammer. I'm not interrogating. I'm asking for basic information about a hotel stay I didn't know about. You're twisting everything. Her voice rose. This is exactly why I can't talk to you anymore. Everything becomes an accusation. I'm standing here asking direct questions. You're the one shouting. Because you're being paranoid. She crumpled the receipt. What? You think I'm having some affair? Is that what this is? You don't trust me at all. The word affair hung in the air between us. I hadn't said it. She had. I rubbed my face, suddenly exhausted. I'm going to pack a bag. What? Where are you going? My brother's. Just for tonight. I need space to think. You're leaving? She followed me upstairs. That's your solution? Walk out when things get hard? I pulled my duffel from the closet, added jeans, a clean shirt, my charger, toothbrush from the bathroom. The whole time, Jenna's voice rose and fell like waves crashing against a seawall. Can't believe you're doing this. Making me look like the villain, always running away from problems. I zipped the bag closed and headed for the stairs. Jenna stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, face flushed. So that's it? You're just leaving? I met her gaze, searching for any flicker of the woman I'd fallen for. All I saw was defensive anger, walls built so high I couldn't see over them anymore. I'm done arguing, I said, and walked toward the door. I stepped outside into the cool night air, duffel bag swinging at my side. The porch light cast long shadows across our driveway as I headed toward my truck. A cricket chorus filled the silence between my footsteps. The front door slammed open behind me. So you're just going to walk out? Just like that? Jenna's voice cut through the quiet neighborhood. She stormed down the porch steps, bathrobe fluttering around her legs. Jenna, go back inside, I said, keeping my voice level. We can talk tomorrow when we've both cooled off. Don't tell me what to do. She followed me across the lawn, her bare feet slapping against the concrete. You don't get to be the reasonable one here. I reached my truck and tossed my bag into the passenger seat. The weight of the day, the receipt, the lies, the shouting, pressed down on my shoulders. I just needed space to think clearly. I'm not trying to be anything except gone for tonight, I said, fishing for my keys. This isn't productive. Productive? Jenna laughed, the sound harsh and unfamiliar. That's all you care about, isn't it? Being productive? Building things? Fixing things? What about fixing us? That's exactly what I'm trying to do by running away? Some man you are. She spat the words, moving closer. Coward! The insult echoed between the houses. A porch light flicked on across the street. Lower your voice, I said. The whole neighborhood doesn't need to hear this. Oh, now you're worried what people will think? She was inches from me now, eyes wild. You walk out on your wife. But God forbid the neighbors gossip. I felt the truck against my back as I reached for the door handle. I'm leaving. We'll talk tomorrow. No. Jenna grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. You don't get to leave. Let go of me. I tried to pull away, but she tightened her grip. You think you can just walk away from me? Her voice cracked with something between rage and panic. Then she shoved me, hard, both palms against my chest. I stumbled back, shoulder blades hitting the truck door. Jenna, stop it, right now. I straightened up, keeping my hands visible at my sides. She advanced again, this time with her car keys clutched between her fingers, the metal points jutting out like claws. You want to leave me? After everything I've put up with? Put up with? The words stung worse than any physical blow. What exactly have you? Shut up! She screamed. Just shut up! Neighbors' lights were coming on now, shadows moving behind curtains. Above us, the blue LED of our porch camera blinked steadily, recording everything. I'm getting in my truck, I said, turning toward the door. This is over tonight. It's over when I say it's over. Jenna lunged forward. I felt the sharp sting before I registered what happened, her hand slashing across my face, the keys between her fingers raking my cheek. Warm wetness trickled down toward my jaw. You don't get to leave me, she shrieked, swinging again. I caught her wrist this time, careful not to squeeze. Stop! You're hurting me! Let go! She twisted in my grip, free hand pounding against my chest. Let go of me! I released her immediately, hands raised. I'm not touching you. See? But you need to back off. She stumbled backward a step, breathing hard. For a moment, I thought she'd calmed down. Then she charged forward again, screaming incoherently, hands clawing at my shirt. I sidestepped, opening the truck door as a barrier between us. This is done, Jenna. Go inside. Don't you dare tell me what to do. She kicked the door, the impact reverberating through the frame. I climbed into the driver's seat and pulled the door closed, locking it with a click that felt unnaturally loud. Through the window, I could see Jenna's distorted face, mouth still moving with words I couldn't hear over the blood rushing in my ears. My hands shook as I started the engine. In the rear-view mirror, I watched her standing in the driveway, illuminated by the porch light, a stranger wearing my wife's face. I backed out slowly, mindful not to spin tires or make this scene any worse. As I pulled away, my gaze drifted upward to the small black dome mounted above our front door, the security camera I'd installed last winter. Its LED blinked steadily, recording everything. 3 blocks away, my phone buzzed in the center console. A notification lit up the screen. Motion detected at front door. Video saved to cloud. I woke up on Nate's couch to the sound of coffee brewing and someone shuffling around the kitchen. Sunlight filtered through unfamiliar blinds, making me squint. For one merciful second, I forgot everything that had happened. Then it all crashed back. The hotel receipt, the argument, Jenna's hands clawing at me in the driveway. "Morning," Nate said, appearing with 2 mugs. "You look like hell. Feel like it, too." I sat up, wincing at the sting on my cheek. Nate's spare blanket slid to the floor as I reached for the coffee. "Your face is pretty torn up," he said, eyes on the scratches. "Did you put anything on that?" I shook my head. Didn't think of it. Nate disappeared into the bathroom and returned with antibiotic cream. "Here, clean that up before it gets infected." I was midway through applying it when 3 sharp knocks hit the front door. Nate and I exchanged glances. It wasn't even 7 a.m. "I'll get it," Nate said, setting his mug down. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see a uniformed sheriff's deputy standing on the porch. The sight sent my pulse racing. "What the hell?" "I'm looking for Ryan Langston," the deputy said, voice formal. "I have paperwork to serve." Nate glanced back at me. I stood up, my legs oddly numb. "I'm Ryan Langston," I said, walking toward the door. The deputy nodded, face neutral. "Mr. Langston, I'm here to serve you with an emergency protective order filed by Jenna Langston. You're required to maintain a distance of 500 feet from the petitioner, her home, and her workplace. You're also prohibited from contact by phone, text, email, or third party." He handed me a stack of papers. My hands felt wooden as I took them. "This order is temporary, pending a hearing," he continued. "That information is in the paperwork. Do you understand these restrictions?" Yes, but..." My voice caught. "I don't understand why there's an order at all." The deputy's expression didn't change. "The petition was filed last night, cleared this morning. The hearing will be your opportunity to respond. Sign here to acknowledge receipt." I signed mechanically, my signature barely recognizable. After the deputy left, I sank back onto the couch and read through the documents. The allegations hit me like physical blows, became physically aggressive during an argument, grabbed petitioner by the arms, causing bruising, threatened violence when confronted about infidelity, fled the scene when petitioner threatened to call police. "This is insane," I whispered. "She's completely flipped everything." I touched the scratches on my face, still raw from her keys. The sting felt like a distant sensation compared to the shock of reading her lies. Nate read over my shoulder, his breathing getting heavier with each paragraph. "She's saying you attacked her? After what she did to your face?" I nodded, still trying to process it. "She filed this last night, after she came at me in the driveway, after she scratched my face open." "We need to get you a lawyer," Nate said firmly. "A good one." "I know someone," I said, suddenly remembering. A client from last year had a similar situation. His ex tried to get him evicted using false claims. His attorney shut it down fast. "Call them," Nate said. "Now." I found the number in my contacts. Laura Kim, attorney at law. To my surprise, she answered directly, her voice crisp and professional. "Ms. Kim, this is Ryan Langston. You helped James Weber last year with his housing situation." "I remember. What can I do for you, Mr. Langston?" I explained everything. The argument, the driveway incident, the protective order that had just been served. Laura listened without interruption. "Do you have any evidence of what actually happened?" she asked when I finished. "Security camera," I said, "on our front porch. It captured the whole thing." There was a brief silence. Then, "Have you accessed that footage since last night?" "No, but I got a notification that motion was detected and the video saved to cloud storage." "Don't access it yet," she said quickly. "I don't want anyone claiming you altered anything. Give me the login information when we meet. Preserve everything exactly as it is. Video, timestamps, any voice recordings. Do you have visible injuries from the incident?" "Yes," I said, touching my cheek. She scratched me with her keys. "Take dated photos immediately. Use your brother's phone if possible, with the date and timestamp visible. Can you come to my office at noon?" 4 hours later, Laura Kim reviewed the security footage on her laptop, her expression unchanging as she watched Jenna scream at me, shove me, slash at my face with her keys. "This is clear evidence," she said finally, looking up. "She was the aggressor. You remained non-violent and attempted to de-escalate. The timestamps match your account exactly." She closed the laptop. "The hearing is tomorrow. I'll file our response today with this footage attached. Be prepared. These hearings move quickly." "Will this be enough?" I asked. "It's irrefutable," Laura said with quiet confidence. "The camera doesn't lie." The next morning, we walked up the courthouse steps together. Laura carried a slim briefcase, her posture straight and purposeful beside me. Near the entrance, I spotted Jenna standing with an older man in a suit, presumably her attorney. She wore a high-necked blouse that covered her arms completely, her face carefully arranged in an expression of vulnerability. Our eyes met for a brief moment. Something flickered across her features, uncertainty, maybe even fear. Then she looked away, leaning slightly toward her lawyer as if seeking protection. "Stay focused," Laura murmured beside me. "We have the truth on our side." Inside the courtroom, the air felt thin and stale. I sat beside Laura at the plaintiff's table, my hands folded tightly in my lap. Across the aisle, Jenna dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, her attorney's hand resting protectively on her shoulder. The performance was flawless. The wounded wife, the victim seeking protection. Judge Hoffman, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and rectangular glasses, reviewed the paperwork before addressing the room. "We're here on an emergency protective order filed by Mrs. Jenna Langston against Mr. Ryan Langston," she said, glancing between us. "Mrs. Langston, your attorney may present your case." Jenna's lawyer stood, a man with a practiced sincerity to his voice. Your Honor, my client feared for her safety after Mr. Langston became physically aggressive during an argument about suspected infidelity. When confronted, he grabbed her arms, causing bruising, and attempted to prevent her from calling for help. I felt my jaw tighten. The complete inversion of reality made my stomach turn. Jenna took the stand, her voice soft and carefully modulated. He came home in a mood, started accusing me of things. Her voice trembled artfully. When I defended myself, he just snapped, grabbed me. I managed to break away, but he kept coming at me. I remembered Mom telling me once that the surest sign someone was lying was when they got too specific with details that didn't matter while staying vague about what did. Jenna's testimony followed that pattern perfectly. I only went outside because I was afraid he'd come back in, she continued. That's when he lunged at me. I raised my hands to protect myself. She lifted her sleeve slightly, revealing a faint bruise that could have come from anywhere. The judge turned to Laura. Your response, Counselor? Laura stood, calm and centered. Your Honor, we have video evidence that directly contradicts Mrs. Langston's account. She approached the bench with a tablet. This is footage from the security camera mounted above the Langstons' front door. It captures the entire incident. Jenna shifted in her seat, her posture suddenly rigid. May I play this for the court? Laura asked. Proceed. The judge nodded. The courtroom fell silent as the video began. There I was, walking toward my truck, overnight bag in hand. Then Jenna charging after me, shouting. The audio was crystal clear. Every accusation, every curse. The moment when she shoved me against the truck played in high definition. Then her hand, keys clutched between her fingers, slashing across my face. The footage captured my retreat, hands raised, voice steady. Jenna, stop! Don't do this! It showed everything. Her aggression, my restraint, the blood on my cheek when I finally got into the truck. I watched Jenna's face as the video played. Her expression hardened, eyes darting between the judge and her attorney. The carefully constructed vulnerability evaporated with each damning second of footage. When it ended, Judge Hoffman removed her glasses, fixing Jenna with a direct stare. Mrs. Langston, would you care to explain the discrepancy between your sworn statement and this video evidence? Jenna's attorney leaned in, whispering urgently in her ear. I was afraid, Jenna stammered. The video doesn't show everything that happened before. The timestamp on this footage corresponds exactly with the time you claimed the incident occurred, Judge Hoffman interrupted. It shows you as the clear aggressor in this situation, while Mr. Langston attempted to de-escalate and remove himself. Laura stood again. Your Honor, my client has visible injuries consistent with the attack shown in this video. He has photographs taken immediately after the incident. She presented the photos Nate had taken, the raw scratches across my cheek, the time and date stamp visible in each image. Judge Hoffman reviewed everything silently, then looked up. The emergency protective order is dissolved, effective immediately. Mr. Langston, given the circumstances, I'm granting you temporary possession of the marital home. Both parties will maintain access to joint financial accounts pending division, but neither may deplete assets. She looked directly at Jenna. Mrs. Langston, I strongly suggest you consider the consequences of filing false reports with this court. Relief washed through me. In the gallery, I heard Nate exhale loudly. Outside the courthouse, Laura closed her briefcase with a decisive click. Change all your passwords immediately, she advised. Email, banking, everything. We've stopped the immediate threat, but this isn't over. What happens next? I asked. She'll regroup. People rarely accept defeat after the first loss. Laura handed me her card. Call me if anything else happens, no matter how small it seems. That night, alone in my house, I changed every password I could think of. Bank accounts, email, phone, PIN, everything. I walked through rooms that suddenly felt too big, too empty. The silence should have been peaceful. Instead, it felt watchful. My phone chimed at 11:42 p.m. A banking alert. Unusual activity detected in your account? I opened my laptop with shaking hands, navigating to our joint checking account. The balance was several $1,000s lower than it had been that morning. 3 transactions, all processed within the last hour. The bank lobby smelled like coffee and disinfectant. I sat in a leather chair across from Martin, the branch manager I'd known for years. He clicked through screens, frowning at what he saw. "These transactions all posted last night," Martin said, turning the monitor so I could see. "Hotel charges, restaurant bills, and, this is the biggest one, a jewelry purchase for nearly $2,000. My stomach tightened. "None of them are mine." "I figured as much. That's why I flagged them when you called." Martin scrolled through the list. "The thing is, they were all made with the authorized card issued to Jenna. Technically, she's still on the account." I stared at the dates. 3 charges from a boutique hotel downtown, all from nights when Jenna claimed to be at client dinners. Same with the restaurants, expensive places I'd never been to. "Can we dispute these?" I asked. "We can try, but it's complicated with joint accounts." Martin looked apologetic. "The judge's order prevents liquidation of assets, but regular spending," he shrugged. "It's in a gray area." I pulled out my notebook. "Can you print the last 6 months of statements? I need to check something." Back home, I spread the statements across the kitchen table. Coffee in hand, I started highlighting patterns. Hotel charges every few weeks, always the same place. Expensive dinners for 2. Small jewelry purchases. It had been happening for months, right under my nose. Remember the summer picnics we used to have on this table? Watermelon juice dripping down our chins, laughing about nothing. All that time, she was already planning her exit. I went to my office and opened my laptop. Something had been nagging at me. Jenna's old iPad. She'd upgraded months ago, but kept the old one for recipes. It was still signed into our family cloud account. The iPad was in the spare room drawer, right where she'd left it. Battery nearly dead, but enough to power on. I plugged it in and waited. It synced automatically when it connected to Wi-Fi, messages popping up on screen. My heart hammered as I opened her texts. There they were. Hundreds of messages between Jenna and someone saved simply as ED. "Miss you already. Last night was amazing. Same room next week? I'll bring the champagne this time. He doesn't suspect a thing." I told him it's a client dinner. I scrolled back further, feeling like I might throw up. "Room 412 is our lucky number. Don't be late." Then a name appeared in a message from 3 months ago. "Evan, I need to see you tonight. Can you get away?" Evan Daniels, the client liaison she mentioned at least once a week. I set the iPad down, hands shaking. Evan. Of course. The pieces locked into place. All those calls she took outside, the business cards from his company scattered around our house, the casual mentions of meetings with him. Had he been in my home? Had they laughed about me together? I opened my own phone and searched my contacts. There it was. Evan's business card. I'd met him at Jenna's company party last year. We'd shaken hands, talked about baseball. He knew exactly who I was. He knew she was married to me. You ever feel like you're the only one who missed the joke? Like everyone else was in on some secret that should have been obvious? I went back to the iPad, taking screenshots of everything. Messages about hotel rooms, planning their meetings, laughing about their deception. One thread from 2 months ago stood out. Jenna, Ryan's going to his brother's this weekend. Come over to the house? Evan, isn't that risky? Jenna, that's what makes it fun. Our bed is more comfortable anyway. I nearly dropped the iPad. Our bed. The bed I'd built with my own hands when we first moved in. I downloaded everything to a secure folder, then backed it up. I grabbed my phone and called Laura. Ryan? She answered on the second ring. I found something. A lot of something. My voice sounded strange in my ears, too calm. Jenna's been having an affair with her client liaison, Evan Daniels. I have their texts, hotel receipts, everything. Good work. Don't confront either of them yet. We need to be strategic. I walked to my office window, looking out at the yard I'd landscaped last spring. The Japanese maple was just starting to turn red. I won't, I promised, but I'm going to find out everything they've done. Every lie, every dime spent, every moment they thought they were getting away with it. And when I had it all, they would both pay. 2 days after discovering the affair, I woke to the sound of my phone ringing. It was 5:30 a.m., too early for anything good. "Mr. Langston?" An unfamiliar voice. "This is Dave from Hanson's Towing. Someone reported a vehicle with slashed tires in your driveway. Need us to come out?" I rubbed my eyes, trying to process his words. "Wait, my truck?" "Yes, sir. Blue Ford F-150. I thanked him, said I'd handle it myself, and stumbled to the front door. The morning air hit me like ice water as I stepped onto the porch. There it was, my truck, listing to one side, all 4 tires flat against the concrete. Not just flat, slashed. Clean cuts through the sidewalls. The sight hit me harder than I expected. That truck had been with me through everything. Hauling lumber for our first home renovation, moving Jenna's things when we got married, carrying supplies to every job site that built my business. Now, it sat wounded in my driveway. "Oh, Mr. Langston, that's terrible." I turned to see Elena Diaz hurrying across the street in her bathrobe, coffee mug in hand. Elena had lived across from us for years, quiet, kept to herself, but always friendly. "Mornin', Elena." "Yeah, it's not great." She shook her head, looking genuinely upset. "I was up late last night grading papers. I thought I saw someone by your driveway around midnight, but it was dark." She hesitated. "I didn't recognize him." My pulse quickened. "Him? You're sure it was a man?" "Tall, wearing a dark jacket. He was moving quickly, didn't look like you." Elena frowned. "I should have called someone. I'm sorry." "Not your fault," I said, though my mind was racing. "Do you have cameras, by chance?" She nodded. "My brother installed a floodlight camera after that package theft last year. I can check if it caught anything." I thanked her, then called Laura. She answered despite the early hour. "Document everything," she said immediately. "Photos, police report, repair estimates. And Ryan? This isn't coincidence. I knew that. This was escalation. The police came, took statements, and left with the standard, 'We'll be in touch.' I spent the morning arranging for new tires and checking my own security footage. That evening, as I waited for the tire delivery, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. "Men who steal wives shouldn't feel safe," a voice said, low and tense. "Back off, if you know what's good for you." My hands went cold. I played it 3 times, the voice unfamiliar, but the threat crystal clear. Someone wanted me afraid. Someone thought I was the villain. I called Laura immediately, forwarding her the message before she even answered. "This is textbook harassment," she said, after listening. "Save it. Document the time and number. Have you checked your backup security feeds?" I'd forgotten about those. After building the house, I'd installed a secondary system that captured a wider angle of the property. It uploaded to a separate cloud account. My backup for the backup. "I'll check now," I told her. In my office, I logged into the extended security network. The camera above the garage had a different view than my main porch camera. It covered the driveway from the side, catching movement my primary system might miss. I scrolled back to midnight. There it was, a figure moving along my truck, crouching by each wheel. The image was grainy, but clear enough. A man, medium build, wearing a dark jacket with a distinctive light-colored stripe along the sleeve. That jacket looked familiar. I pulled up Evan Daniels's LinkedIn profile. There he was in his professional headshot. wearing a navy blue blazer with a thin white pinstripe along the cuff. I flipped between the security image and his photo, comparing details. Same build, same jacket, same man. "Got you," I whispered. I spent the next hour searching online records. It took some digging, but I found what I needed. The threatening call came from a prepaid phone purchased 3 days earlier. The purchase had been made with a credit card ending in 4382. I checked my notes from the bank statements. Evan Daniels's corporate card, the one he'd used for hotels with Jenna, ended with those exact digits. The circle was complete. He'd slashed my tires, then called to threaten me, all while thinking he was untraceable. But he'd made a critical mistake. He'd used the same payment method for both his affair and his intimidation. I packaged everything: the security footage, the voice message, the call logs, the credit card match, and sent it to Laura with a single line. "Evan Daniels is escalating." Her response came minutes later. "This just turned criminal." 2 days after the tire-slashing incident, I sat in Laura Kim's office, watching her arrange evidence across her desk with methodical precision. Outside, rain tapped against the windows, matching my mood: steady, persistent, and growing in intensity. "So what we have," Laura said, tapping a stack of folders, "is a 3-part case. First, the false accusations and assault from Jenna. Second, the vandalism and harassment from Evan. Third, what appears to be corporate fraud." She spread photos from Elena's security camera showing Evan crouching by my truck, the timestamp clear in the corner. "Elena agreed to testify?" Laura asked. "She's ready whenever we need her," I confirmed. "She's bringing the original footage tomorrow." Elena had been more than helpful. After seeing the damage to my truck, she'd combed through weeks of her security footage, finding not just the tire slashing, but 2 other instances of Evan lurking near my property, once a week earlier, and again 3 days before that. "Perfect," Laura said. Her testimony confirms the pattern of harassment. I handed her a folder with bank statements. I went through everything, found 6 different hotel charges over the past 4 months, all on our joint account, but processed through Evan's corporate reservation system. Laura raised an eyebrow. "His company paid first, then he expensed it as business, and your wife reimbursed him from your joint account?" "Exactly." "Double-dipping on my dime," I said, the bitterness creeping into my voice despite my efforts to stay calm. "They used my money to fund their affair, then his company's money too." Laura nodded, adding the statements to her growing file. "This creates a powerful motive for both of them to discredit you. Once you discovered the affair, they needed to neutralize the threat you represented." I remembered those summer cookouts with charcoal smoke drifting across the yard, Jenna laughing as she brought out plates of corn and steak. How many of those nights had she been planning to leave? How long had the betrayal been brewing while I built our life brick by brick? "I'm filing 2 separate actions today," Laura continued, pulling me from my thoughts. "A harassment complaint against Evan with supporting evidence, and a motion for sanctions against Jenna for perjury in her protective order filing. Will that be enough?" I asked. "We're not stopping there," Laura said, her voice taking on the sharp edge I was coming to recognize as her battle mode. "I'm subpoenaing Evan's employer for all his expense reports and communications related to these hotel stays." My eyes widened. "His company will hand that over?" "Companies hate fraud more than they hate scandal," Laura said simply. "And they especially hate becoming accessories to harassment. The subpoena gives their legal team cover to cooperate without seeming disloyal." She was right. Within 48 hours, Evan's employer had responded with a full internal investigation report. Their HR department had pulled every receipt, every expense report, and every email mentioning Jenna Langston. The evidence was damning. Evan had systematically categorized their hotel stays as client meetings, listing Jenna as a guest, and charging expensive meals and even spa services to the company account. "This is better than I expected," Laura said, as we reviewed the HR report. "His company is furious. They've placed him on administrative leave pending the outcome of our case." I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and exhaustion. "So what happens next?" "Tomorrow, we present everything to the judge," Laura explained, organizing the files into a presentation binder. The camera footage, Elena's testimony, the bank records, the threatening call, and now the corporate fraud evidence. We're asking for a restraining order against Evan, sanctions against Jenna for her false report, and a formal referral to the DA's office for potential criminal charges. The next morning, we stood in the courthouse hallway, waiting for our hearing. Laura looked immaculate in a charcoal suit, confidence radiating from her posture. I spotted Jenna at the far end with her attorney, her face pale when she noticed me. Evan stood nearby, looking considerably less polished than in his LinkedIn photo. Laura checked her watch, then leaned in close to me. "Ready?" I nodded. She squeezed my arm briefly. "Tomorrow, we make this public," she whispered as the bailiff opened the courtroom door. "Today, we show them exactly what they're up against." The courtroom felt smaller than before. Or maybe it was just the weight of what was about to happen pressing in on all sides. I sat beside Laura at the plaintiff's table, watching the judge review our evidence binder. Across the aisle, Jenna's attorney looked increasingly uncomfortable as he flipped through his own thin folder. Evan sat behind them, tugging at his collar like it was choking him. "Your Honor," Laura began, rising with practiced confidence, "what we have before you today is a clear pattern of deception, harassment, and retaliation against my client, Ryan Langston." She approached the bench with our first exhibit, the original driveway footage. The bailiff set up the monitor as Laura narrated what we were about to see. This video, time-stamped and automatically uploaded to secure cloud storage, shows Ms. Langston physically attacking Mr. Langston as he attempted to leave their residence following a discussion about her infidelity. The courtroom fell silent as the footage played. There was Jenna, following me out the door, screaming things the microphone picked up with perfect clarity. Then the shove, the scratching, her keys raised threateningly. My own voice remained steady throughout. "Stop, Jenna! I'm not fighting with you." I glanced at Jenna, who stared straight ahead, jaw tight. This wasn't her version of events, the one she'd told in her emergency petition. This was reality, unfiltered. Laura continued methodically, displaying the vandalism footage next. "This is from Mr. Langston's extended security network, showing Mr. Daniels approaching my client's vehicle at 2:17 a.m., clearly carrying what appears to be a box cutter or similar sharp object. She then presented Elena's sworn statement about seeing Evan near my truck, followed by the phone records tracing the threatening call to a prepaid phone purchased on Evan's corporate card. "And now, Your Honor, we come to the matter of financial impropriety." Laura displayed the hotel receipts and bank statements side by side, tracing the money trail from my joint account with Jenna to the hotels where she met Evan. Mr. Daniels and Ms. Langston didn't just conduct an affair. They funded it with Mr. Langston's money while simultaneously attempting to have him removed from his home through false allegations of violence. Jenna suddenly stood up. "He hacked my accounts," she shouted, face flushed. "He's manipulating everything to make me look—" The judge cut her off with a sharp rap of his gavel. "Ms. Langston, you will have your opportunity to speak. For now, remain silent, or risk contempt." "But he's lying," Jenna persisted. The judge's expression hardened. "Ms. Langston, the camera doesn't hack. It records. Sit down." Jenna sank back into her seat, trembling with anger. I kept my face neutral, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. This was the moment truth finally outpaced lies. Laura then called the HR representative from Evan's company, who testified that Evan had systematically misused corporate funds, categorizing his hotel stays with Jenna as client meetings, and expensing meals, room service, and even spa treatments. Upon review of Mr. Daniels' expense reports, the HR rep stated, we found at least 14 instances where company funds were used inappropriately in connection with Miss C. Four. Langston, who is not a client or business associate of our firm. Evan sat motionless, staring at his hands. The polished corporate image he'd cultivated was crumbling in real time. After 2 hours of testimony and evidence, the judge removed his glasses and addressed the courtroom. Having reviewed all evidence presented, I find the following. Ms. Langston committed assault against Mr. Langston and filed a false report with the intent to damage his reputation and remove him from their shared residence. Mr. Daniels engaged in harassment, vandalism, and threatening behavior against Mr. Langston. The judge ordered Jenna to pay my legal fees and restitution for emotional distress. He issued a restraining order against Evan, who, the HR representative informed the court, had already been terminated from his position that morning. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Laura turned to me with a small, satisfied smile and shook my hand firmly. "Congratulations," she whispered. "Truth won today." As we gathered our papers, Jenna pushed past her attorney and approached our table. Her eyes were hard, all pretense of vulnerability gone. "You'll regret this," she hissed, low enough that only I could hear. I met her gaze steadily. I already did. Once. 6 weeks after the ruling, I stood on my front porch with a hammer in one hand and 3 galvanized nails pressed between my lips. The spring sun warmed my shoulders as I knelt beside the loose railing that had wobbled for months. Before everything fell apart, fixing it had seemed like just another weekend chore. Now it felt like reclaiming territory, marking this house as mine again. I aligned the wood and drove in the first nail with 3 solid strikes. The sound echoed across the quiet yard, clean and satisfying. It was strange how quickly life had settled into new patterns. The house that had once felt haunted by betrayal now just felt peaceful. I no longer checked my phone obsessively or listened for unfamiliar cars in the driveway. The rooms that had once held our shared life now held only mine, and that was okay. I hammered the second nail, feeling the vibration travel up my arm. The way wood and metal came together, predictable, reliable, had always made sense to me. Materials didn't lie. They just were what they were. Jenna's first restitution check had arrived last week, her signature a jagged, angry thing at the bottom. My lawyer said she'd fought the payment schedule until the judge threatened contempt charges. She'd moved into a 1-bedroom apartment across town, according to Nate, who'd seen her at the grocery store. She'd turned away, pretending not to see him. Pride was the last thing to go, I guess. And Evan? Word through mutual connections was that he'd been couch surfing with increasingly reluctant friends, his savings drained by legal fees. His wife had filed for divorce after the court revelation. 3 companies had already passed on hiring him after basic background checks revealed the harassment and vandalism charges. Turns out, reputations are easier to break than fix. I set the 3rd nail and drove it home. The railing stood firm when I tested it with my weight. "Nice work!" I looked up to see Elena from next door, watering her flower beds. "Thanks," I said. "Should have fixed it months ago." She shrugged. "You had other things to deal with." That was an understatement. The last 6 weeks had been a blur of paperwork, account separations, and slowly rebuilding my contracting business after the chaos had cost me 2 clients. But word was spreading about what had really happened. Not the rumors Jenna had tried to seed, but the truth backed by court records. My phone was ringing again. The mail truck pulled up as I was putting my tools away. The carrier handed me a thick envelope with the law firm's logo in the corner. Inside was the final notice of case closure. No appeals filed. Restitution schedule finalized. It was over. I sat down on the porch steps, scanning the documents. Everything had played out exactly as Laura had predicted. Jenna's attempts to paint me as controlling and abusive had collapsed under the weight of evidence. Evan's claims of innocence had withered against the security footage. My phone buzzed. Laura Kim's name lit up the screen. "Just checking you got the paperwork," she said when I answered. "Just now. Looks like we're officially done." "We are. Congratulations, Ryan. Not many cases wrap up this cleanly." She paused. "How are you feeling?" I looked around at my yard, my porch, my house, like I can breathe again. "Good. That's how it should be." I could hear her shuffling papers. "I'm closing your file today, but if she ever misses a payment or tries anything else, call me immediately." "I will. And Laura, thank you for believing me from the start." "I believed the evidence," she said simply. "The camera told the truth when people wouldn't." After we hung up, I found myself looking at the small black dome above the porch, the security camera that had saved everything. What had once been installed out of casual precaution had become the silent witness to my life's unraveling and, ultimately, its restoration. I stood and gathered my tools, the hammer's weight comfortable in my hand. The house behind me was quiet, but it wasn't empty. It was full of possibility now. No more fights about nothing. No more walking on eggshells. No more lies. Justice doesn't shout. It plays back, frame by frame, until the truth stands alone. I turned and walked inside, closing the door behind me, calm and free. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.